Thank you, everyone. I'm so sorry it took so long. I need a motion to go back into open session, please.
Make a motion to go back into open session.
Have a person need a second?
Second.
Is a second, Mr. Stedman. Is there any discussion over going back into open session? Not hearing none. I need a roll call, please.
Mr. Pig,
Yes.
Mr. Deal,
Yes.
Ms. Stidham,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Okay. We're back in open session. Next order of business is to approve the executive director's salary. Is there a motion to be made on the floor?
I move that we provide Director Volmer with a 6% raise.
I second.
Having a first and second. Any discussion on the matter?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Davis.
yes, I feel like she's making an average salary according to, what the other directors are making. Last year we gave her 3%, which would be on $133,500, would be $4,000 a year raise. And you're saying 6%, that would be an $8,000 raise. I think that we're being good stewards. I don't think anybody here that is salaried gets that kind of a raise. So that's how I feel.
All right, thank you. Is there any other opinions? Comments?
The public needs to understand this is a $5 million a year business. It's self-contained. We're not part of county government. We have to do all of our own HR, all of our own hiring, training, firing. We have to do all of our own IT. We have to do all of our own legal business.
Facilities.
We actually did a salary survey of the top 10 counties in the state. Jefferson County is number 6. We tried to compare the directors' salaries of those counties based on size of the population of the counties, the size of the staff that they supervise, the governmental environment that they're in, what their education level is, what their length of service is, and we found that the most comparable people to Director Volmer are making more money than she is currently. That's why we're proposing a 6% raise.
So anything else? Anybody else? Another comment?
Well, could we make it in?
I'm sorry.
meet
Is
number-
there anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
You've had you. I still have the floor, ma'am. I'm gonna make a statement myself, then I will give you your last turn. So I do know that the average salary for 6 to 10 years equivalency in the state was $155,000 a year. Currently, Ms. Vollmer's 139. No, I'm sorry, 133. Trustee Davis.
again, I think it seems to be more fair to do what we did last year, 3%.
Any other comments from anyone else? Not hearing any, I am going to call for a roll call vote.
Mr. Pig,
Yes.
Mr. Deal,
Yes.
Ms. Stidham,
No.
Sorry.
What's the vote on? What's the percentage? 0.
It's a 6%,
Motion on the floor.
it's a motion on the floor, second for a 6% raise, which will take it to $141,000. Plus some change.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. Next order of business and new business, subcommittee assignments. So I've already sent these out to the actual trustees, and I apologize if Hope you all got them, and I know there's a lot of things. I'm going to lay them out now, so everybody is aware. So the building committee is myself and the Stedham. The reason I'm still staying on there is because I was on there previously, and it needs to be some continuity to see it all the way through. Personnel committee is trustee Deal and trustee Henry, pardon me. Insurance is trustee Davis and trustee Pig. Legal is trustee Henry and trustee Pig. And bylaw review is going to be trustee Deal and trustee Stedham. And I know, folks, there's a lot of work in these subcommittees. This is not just eye in the sky stuff. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of meetings to attend and a lot of directives to be given and information and so forth. So please understand this is a working board. All right, next on the is to establish the 2023 town hall meetings. At least the first one, I'd like to get established. I was looking to do something in May, particularly maybe May 11th. I didn't know what your schedule would look like as far as Ms. Ulmer, as far as where that would be. Not that you need to attend, but I'm looking at your staff. Would that be too quick to get something done? Do we need to push it back into June? Because I want to do it in between meetings. I don't want to do it, I want to do it kind of an off meeting between them.
We have Jennifer will be out, but otherwise, I think we can do it as long as we can find a location.
Well, let's see.
Big enough.
I'm gonna ask for a motion on this to vote on this, please. I'll make the motion that we have a town hall meeting May 11th. Probably try and get it at
Okay.
least.
Can you not do me 11? Because I'm not going to be available. Prior to that or after the 17th. This is my availability.
Well, I'm gonna ask for a motion on it and then we'll go from there. Not all of us are gonna be able to make it, and it's gonna be recorded. It's, the meeting's not a meeting, it's just a town hall meeting for the people to have discussions. It's not really gonna be any business discussed there. These are the business meetings, so I'm gonna ask for that May 11th, if that's good with the actual organization.
What day of the week is that, Tom?
That's a
Thursday.
Thursday. I do it on Thursday between this meeting and the next meeting on purpose. If that, we back it up to June, if we're gonna back it up. Because I want it between the meetings. I think that's the best place for it. So I'll make a motion so we can really discuss if there's need to be discussed. Does anybody make a second for me?
I'll second.
First and second, is there other discussion on that point? Other than not being able to make it, and I understand that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to see it on May 17th, the following Thursday. So that
If we're gonna do that, we'll need to push it back into June. And I would like to see it up front versus that. All right, is there any other discussion points on this?
I'm available.
If we have so we have a first and a second, all in favor of writing that on May 11th, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. We got one extension. Carries 4-1. The next on the agenda is act on recommendation by personnel committee to discipline board member.
Here, you also have anything this September 14th. You want to discuss that one now?
I'm sorry.
So you also have anything this September 14th. Did you want to discuss that one now?
No, we'll discuss that at a later date. I apologize. So number 3 is to act on recommendation by personnel committee, discipline board member. I will give the floor to Ms. Christy Coleman, our counsel. You'd be so kind as to,
The board has a proposed resolution in your packet for the censure of trustee Susan Davis as a result of 2 employee complaints that were filed against her. At the personnel committee's direction, we hired an independent investigator to investigate both complaints. They were both found to be founded. The investigation reports are very lengthy. But if the board does adopt the censure resolution, they will be attached to same and therefore public records, but it's sunshine. The proposed resolution. Mr. Chair, do you want me to read it into the record for the public, or how do you want me to handle that?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
At a meeting at the Board of Trustees of the Jefferson County Health Center held on the 27th day of April 2023, at which a quorum was present, the following resolution was adopted, effective immediately, censuring the conduct of trustee Susie Davis. Wherefore, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, the purpose of the Board of Trustees is to govern and control the affairs of the center as provided by law, to discover and interpret the needs, attitudes, and interests throughout the county as a guide to developing and setting priorities for health programs and residents, to exercise judgment in reviewing, considering, and voting on policies affecting the operation of the residents, businesses, and facilities within the county, and to oversee the management and fiscal control of the center as provided by law, and to review, evaluate, and judge the effectiveness of the center's programs. And wherefore, further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, each individual board member shall work through the director and her staff to reinforce the efforts of the director and the staff so they may perform their assigned responsibilities in the most effective manner, to keep all citizens informed about the quality and the condition of matters affecting public health in the county, and to assure that all transactions of the center are ethical, open and above board. Shall work through the director and her staff to discover and interpret the needs, attitudes, and interests throughout Jefferson County as a guide to developing and setting priorities for health programs for residents, and shall initiate and implement all efforts to secure adequate financial support for the center. And wherefore, further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, members of the board shall attend all regularly scheduled Board of Trustee meetings insofar as possible. Members shall come to the Board of Trustees meetings informed concerning the issues to be considered. Members shall review the issues under the board's consideration and to take a respectful stand regarding those issues. Members must conform to tenets of knowledge, open discussion, respect, independent judgment, and independent civility should be prepared to cast a vote on each issue that is before that member. And whereas further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, members shall work with other board members to establish effective board policies and to delegate authority for the administration of the center's facilities to the director. Members shall not attempt to bypass, undermine, or usurp the director's authority and responsibility for the daily operation of the center. And whereas further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, members shall avoid being placed in a position of conflict of interest and shall not use the board position for personal or partisan gain. And whereas further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, the action of a majority of the quorum shall be the action of the Board of Trustees. And whereas further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, members shall not disclose confidential information. Information is considered confidential if it is A, communicated during executive session, or B, concerning members of the personnel of the center, or C, exempt from disclosure under the Sunshine Law, or D, otherwise communicated with a mutual understanding of confidentiality. And whereas further, when attending functions outside of the JCHD, but speaking on matters concerning the center, the members shall indicate to those present that she is an individual member of the board without the authority to act individually, and shall direct those present to the chair and or the director for any question pertaining to execution and administration of policy and outreach. And whereas further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, all meetings of the board are conducted pursuant to Robert's Rules of Order. And whereas further, pursuant to the bylaws adopted by the Board of Trustees, a member may take her own notes during the meetings of the Board of Trustees. However, disclosure of notes outside of the JCHC, which are taken during executive session, is expressly prohibited. And whereas the Board of Trustees acts as the employer to all staff of the JCHC and has adopted an employee manual which prohibits bullying of JCHC employees under any circumstances and provides that, quote, all employees should be able to work in an environment free of bullying, end quote. And the manual defines bullying as, quote, behavior that harms, intimidates, and reasonably offends, degrades, or humiliates an employee, including in the presence of others, end quote. The Board of Trustees prohibits bullying of its employees due to the potential loss of trained and talented employees, reduced productivity and morale, and creation of legal risks. And whereas Executive Director Kelly Omar filed a complaint against Susan Susie Davis alleging multiple allegations of violations of the board bylaws and the employee handbook, including those responsibilities outlined herein. And whereas the Board of Trustees retained an independent investigator to conduct an objective investigation of the complaint against Ms. Davis. The investigator prepared a written report attached hereto as Exhibit A, which was reviewed by the Board of Trustees. And whereas the absence coordinator for JCHD